Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Vice President of India, Chief Guest of today's event, Shri Venkaiah Naidu garu has arrived. In a minute or two, Shri Padmanabhaya garu, the former Home Secretary, Government of India, would be joining. The program would begin in about a minute or 2 minutes. I request all the participants to keep your mobiles in a silent mode or airplane mode so that it will not disturb the program. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may I request the Honorable Vice President to come onto the dais, and I request the other dignitaries, Shri Padmanabhaya garu, Shri B. Vinod Kumar garu, Dr. Mohan Kanda, please come onto the dais.
ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటే ఎవరు ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటే వాసం పట్టుకుంటారు పోలీస్ కానిస్టేబుల్ నేనని ఎలా అంటే నేనంటే అతనని ఏంటంటే నేను చేయడం పెడితే రాష్ట్రపతి కూడా అయిపోదు.
Well, may I request the participants to stand for the national anthem. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of BSP Books Private Limited, a 60-year-old publishing house based at Hyderabad, it's indeed Dr. Mohan Kanda, whose book is going to be released very shortly. We are excited to see the administrative and academic luminaries among the audience. I recognize the presence of Dr. Revati, Director SES, T.V.K. Singh, and others. Many of the bureaucrats are watching virtually. Welcome to online guests who are watching on live streaming. It is my distinct honor and proud privilege to welcome Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Venkaiah Naidu Garu, as chief guest for today's event. In light of the Government of India's goal to double farmers' income by 2022, it is very appropriate that the Honorable Vice President releases the book titled Agriculture in India, Contemporary Challenges in the Context of Doubling Farmers' Income, authored by Dr. Mohan Kanda. The book is published by BSP Publications in association with the Center for Good Governance, where I am working as director. It is a great honor to introduce the speaker, Dr. Mohan Kanda, my mentor, friend, philosopher, and guide, probably to many of you also. Mohan Kanda Garu is well known to all of us. He is a retired, but not yet tired, Indian Administrative Service Officer of 1968 batch. In his long and distinguished career, he served in various capacities at center and state, including Agriculture Secretary, Government of India, Chief Secretary of the Undivided Andhra Pradesh. He holds a doctorate in cooperative agriculture credit. After retirement from service, he served as member of National Disaster Management Agency, which is chaired by the Prime Minister of India. He was also a member of the Screening Committee of the Planning Commission for formulation of the 12th five-year plan for agriculture and allied sectors. He has helped shape several national policies, including national policy on agriculture, national policy on cooperatives, and national policy on rehabilitation and resettlement of projects affected persons. He has also contributed significantly to the formulation of the law governing multi-state cooperatives. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is not my duty to review the book, but knowing the interest of the Honorable Vice President in Agriculture and Rural Development, perhaps it is pertinent to say a few things about the book. I begin with my favorite heroic couplets from The Deserted Village by Oliver Goldsmith. Ill face the land to hastening ill spray, where wealth accumulates and men decay. Princes and lords may flourish or may fade. A breath can make them as a breath has made. But a bold peasantry, their country's pride, when once destroyed, can never be supplied, unquote. We all agree that Indian agriculture and farmers are faced with daunting challenges today, more than ever before. They range from substantial enhancement of our productivity to increasing farm incomes, to dealing with climate change challenges, to managing dryland agriculture in the country, where vast areas are still have to come under irrigation, so on and so forth. Some of them are old ones, but they require new approaches and new urgency. It is well known that if you continue to do what you did in the past, you will get the same results that you have always got in the past. And we do not want this. That means we must do things differently. More specifically, India needs to rapidly move towards innovation-led agriculture growth. Further, global markets have expanded rapidly in the last 20 years. If India has to be integrated with the global markets and be competitive globally, it has to be achieved with speed, scale, and sustainability. Putting the initiative of doubling farmers' income in perspective, the book provides us an opportunity to explore the entire gamut of issues concerning agriculture in India today. The book is an initiative essentially aimed at center-staging farmers' empowerment and strengthening measures across the subsectors. It is on these subsectors the book focuses, namely research, extension, methodological services, inputs, mechanization, financial services, storage, processing, innovation, etc. These subsectors play a major role in strengthening the overall agricultural ecosystem of this country. These vital sectors are presently faced with certain gaps and overlaps which must be necessarily addressed today in order to facilitate sustainable growth leading to increased farm incomes. Against this background, precisely this new book goes beyond the often discussed what needs to be done and focuses on the too often forgotten how can this be done effectively today. It is a very timely book and is an important attempt to provide a template for the discussion of agricultural policy in the country. The book gives a clear-eyed view that policymakers must attempt to realize the goal of achieving increased farm incomes. With these words, I once again welcome Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Venkaiah Naidu Garu, as Chief Guest for today's event, and all of you to this function. Thank you all. Now, I request Dr. Mohan Kanda Garu to speak about his experience in writing the book.
Sri Venkaiah Naidu Garu, Honorable Vice President of India, Sri Padmanabhai Garu, Naresh ji, Sri Vinod Kumar Garu. Over the last several years, especially after my retirement, I have inflicted upon the reading public many works of mine. Whether they liked it or not is a separate issue, but I have gone on with my works. And among the eminent persons at whose hands those books were released, easily the most distinguished, very, very important person is Mr. Venkaiah Naidu Garu. I am grateful and I am honored by his presence. On one occasion, in fact, he himself was good enough to read one of my books and call me up on the phone and suggest that I should come to another function which was already arranged and get that book released in its Telugu form. In fact, he said, look, I like it so much that I want to release it. You please bring it to Phalana function where I am there already. So I went and got it done. That is the kind of interest he has shown in the subjects which agriculture, disaster management or governance, and also in me as a person. And Mr. Venkaiah Naidu Garu and I go back a long, long time. I first knew him when he was an MLC, and then he and Mr. Jaipal Reddy and old stalwarts like C.V.K. Rao and like adorned the opposition benches and had the government of the day on its feet all the time with their fearless and thorough approach to particularly keeping the executive under check. And Padmanabhan, and whatever position he donned after that, I worked with him when he was union minister, then he was my party leader, and now vice president. He himself has always remained just Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. That is the greatness about him. And Padmanabhan Garu is one of our most distinguished civil servants, and he has also participated in many of my book release functions. And probably as a prelude to his preparing a few words for this occasion, he called me up and asked me whether I own any agricultural lands. So quite unashamedly, I told him that for 3 generations, nobody in our family had any agricultural land at all. We don't even know the difference between a plant and a plantation and a crop. But, and quite in a light-hearted vein, I told Mr. Padmanabhan that is probably why I have become an expert on agriculture, because I have never handled anything. But agriculture has, seriously speaking, been the area in which I have been working for the last 20 years or more in my service. And I have looked at all the sectors: cooperation, extension, research, marketing, fishery, sericulture, animal husbandry, dairy, you name it. And therefore, writing this book was a sort of long cherished ambition of mine. And in fact, this last 1 year, I am taking in that article. And the contents of the book, in sum, Mr. Devi Prasad has described it at length. They summarize some recommendations which I have been entertaining for the last 20 years or so, especially about the roles of the central and state governments and other agencies, connected agencies, in managing agriculture from the administrative side. And also, it suggests that the status of agriculture in the national agenda should be raised, and it should, as the Germans call it, occupy its legitimate Lebensraum, its genuine elbow space. And some of the ideas, of course, the Vice President is fully aware of all of them. This book will be more than worth my spent on writing it, if even at least some of the ideas receive favorable attention from those governance at the national level. And given the enlightened leadership in command of governance at the national level today, including Vice President Garu, which has a lot of what the Jews call chutzpah. In Hyderabad, we call it jaraf. The supreme confidence that if I want to do something, I can do it. This government certainly has it. So, only thing is, I wish and pray, I am sure they will, that very soon, the government will say that I want to forsake everything until their children are not sold, women are not treated with dishonor. Devi Prasad, but for whose tiring efforts, this event would not have been possible at all. And finally, I would like to conclude with 2 things. One, Atal Bihaji Vajpayee always said one couplet which I am very fond of. As you know, he was a great poet. He used to say, "Uncha mastak, ubhra sina, jina ho to aisa jina." I think agriculture, the farming community in the country, the farmer should be able to hold his head high and become an equal to everybody else in the country. That is the ultimate ambition. And finally, in terms of, I thanked everyone from outside in the beginning, because I regard Mr. Vinod Kumar as a friend of mine. In fact, he was good enough, in spite of his cabinet status, to call me and come home and to have a discussion with me, mostly about the subjects which I am talking about. I kept him at the end because I wanted to convey to you the special position he occupies in my thinking. And finally, Mr. Rajinikanth Rao, I'm sure you have all heard of him, the bard of the Telugu people, wrote many things. He wrote songs, he wrote plays, he acted, he sang, all sorts of things. In one song, there is one couplet which I often remember, Omkara Parivrittam Vishwam, that the universe is circumscribed by the sound of, which is what they discovered in CERN, gravitational waves and Higgs bosons, and those suggesting that at the edge of space-time, there are ripples.
Omkara Parivrittam Vishwam Sankalpa Parimitam Drishyam. That you will see if you shut your eyes as a vision as big as your heart. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now may I request Shri Vinod Kumar Garu, sir here, to address the gathering.
Respected Venkaiah Naidu Garu, Honorable Vice President, India, Dr. Mohan Kanda Garu, Padmanabhaya Garu, Amit Shah Garu, and distinguished guests who are attending today's function on the eve of releasing a book titled Agriculture in India, Contemporary Challenges in the Context of Doubling Farmers' Income. Honorable Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji, had coined the word doubling farmers' income way back in 2015. It was my second term as a parliamentarian, and Honorable Vice President Venkaiah Naidu Garu was Union Cabinet Minister for Urban Development and Parliamentary Affairs. Immediately thereafter, announcement of this doubling the income with regard to farmers' distress, that was the word on which a debate took place. So while participating in the debate on behalf of my party, TRS party, I fully agreed with this ambitious program of doubling the income of farmers. After this announcement of doubling farmers' income, across the nation, more particularly, many state governments have took decision to think on the farming community in their respective states. And as mentioned by Mohan Kanda Garu, very recently, of course in the COVID time, I met him once and had a detailed discussion regarding the same subject. So probably some critics may say, because the deadline, that is 2022, is very near, and to what extent this ambitious program is successful. I'm not going to the details of the results of this phrase, but what I mean to say, definitely the appeal made by the Prime Minister to double the farmers' income has definitely created a confidence among the farming community in our country. Very recently, I had a discussion with the chairman of the NABARD, Mr. Govindaraj Garu, very recent, last week. So you know, the government's initiative for collective action through farmers, producers, organizations to address the challenges faced by the small and marginal farmers in our country. As all of us know, 85% of the farming community in our country are small and marginal farmers, and more particularly in the state of Telangana, they are more than 94%, the small and marginal farmers. Yes, it's a fact that there were many social movements in this part of the country, right from the pre-independence days. And as all of you know, there were many political movements also in the name of Dunne Vadike Bhumi. So as the other aspect is with regard to the agricultural reforms, Sealing Act. So now the average holding of a farmer in the state of Telangana is not even a hectare, markets. So now I hope that Mohan Kanda Garu, in his book titled Agriculture in India, Contemporary Challenges in the Context of Doubling the Income, I think as a senior IAS officer, he worked in Government of India and our state government, the undivided state of Andhra Pradesh as well. So I hope that definitely he would have addressed many issues with regard to the farming community, the whole country, and as well as in this part of the country, that is both the Telugu states. And with regard to the FPOs, when I discussed with the NABARD chairman, he's of the opinion that small holding farmer should at least diversify some part of his holding other than paddy and wheat in this country. So very recently, when our planning board was discussing with the agricultural department, this government, the government of Telangana, is going to face a very big problem, that is problem of plenty, more particularly with regard to paddy. And with regard to the steps to be initiated by the government, you're well aware that our Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao Garu had took initiative to launch two programs. One, Raitu Bandhu scheme, that is giving the investment, I don't say it as subsidy, investment to the farmers before they start the agriculture, both in Kharif and Rabi as well. 5,000 per acre in each season. So I think this was much appreciated by many other state governments and the Honorable Prime Minister himself, because he too launched a scheme in the name of PM Kisan by giving some investment to the agricultural land holders. So I request Professor Revati Garu, who is the chairman of SES here, after launching releasing the book by Honorable Vice President, we can go through it, and I request her to conduct some seminars in the coming days. And I feel it great privilege for me to speak few words on this occasion. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. As you said, we will see the book released. Some of the points you have raised have been covered by Dr. Mohan Kanda anyway. Now, may I request Sri Padmanabha Garu to give his message to the audience, sir. He has.
Honorable Venkaiah Naidu Garu, because the first time he asked me to write a review about the book, some comments was in March 20. It's almost 1 year ago. By that time, the book was ready actually. But then he went on revising and all that. So, though he has written many books, I would call this as his masterpiece, magnum opus. So that is a great one. But as Mohan said, I asked him, Mohan, do you or your wife hold any agricultural lands? Maybe not as a tenant, but farming, but at least as an owner. He said, sir, for the last 3 generations, we never had any agricultural land, he said. But that's why he is eminently suited to write about the agriculture. Because what is happening is, in India, most people who talk about agriculture have never practiced agriculture. This is an unfortunate thing. I may mention, with the permission of the Vice President, a joke. M.S. Swaminathan, he has written the first national policy on agriculture, and in so many volumes, I think 10 volumes. And then one of my lawyer friends, who was there, a very eminent lawyer, he asked him, sir, you have written all these things, I would give you free 5 acres of land, because they said, what do? We don't get anything out of it. Then the then government asked him, Baba, you go and find out. It's one of the Konasima, Amalapuram and all that. Go and find out what is the reasons. And then he analyzed and made some recommendations, but I don't think the recommendations were ever implemented. I believe in 2014 or 16, again there was a move to do the this one, a sort of crop holiday. That's the position. So, because of his experience, he is well qualified to do that. Now, what does he? You see, what is the position of agriculture now? I think we pay lip sympathy. This COVID-19 has completely shattered our economy. If the economy had stood this ground, it is because of the farming. I think it is the farmer and the farming community, the agricultural output, which has stabilized to some extent the economy. Government is aware of it. The second thing is, unless we have a successful agricultural policy, the so-called food security which we are talking about, it just doesn't work, the food security. So you have to have the agriculture prioritization. Mohan, in his book, has identified the gaps in the policies as well as in the implementation, and he has made alternate suggestions on how to fill up those gaps. I think it's worth going through that. Another point he has made in his book is, he pleads that agriculture should get a greater place and space in public policy, in public debate, and because we must discuss what exactly are the problems. The second point he makes is, farming must be treated as an enterprise and a farmer as an entrepreneur. I think this is what the government also is trying to do. So for these purposes, one is required to build capacity of the farmers, and their empowerment is extremely vital. But now coming to my views on agriculture, I have some land, my wife has some land, we do some cultivation. But agriculture in India is always a riddle to me. Conundrum. Riddle means ఏం సొల్యూషన్ లేదు. ఇట్స్ ఆల్సో ఏ పారాడాక్స్. అంటే ఒక భాగానికి ఇంకో భాగానికి సమన్వయం ఉండదు. ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఇస్తాను నేను. So many new high seeds, high variety and hybrid variety seeds have been sort of discovered. Productivity has gone up, not to the extent of China and all that, but productivity has improved. And from a position of shortage and a position of imports, we are now surplus in food grains. We are exporting food grains to the extent that it is rotting in the godowns, a lot of food grain and all that. To the extent we have done. And that is on one side. But on the other side, the farmers' incomes are supposed to be double 2022 to 23. We are almost on the sort of anvil of that. But massive write-offs continue in various states, in the government of India, in the state governments, if you take these things. And suicides continue, maybe at a decreased one, maybe not in some parts, but other parts. So why is it that these schemes have no effect on the farming? Government's intention to modernize agriculture is absolutely fine. There's no doubt at all. But it seems to be, to me, in a great hurry to bring about this modernization and change. Sir, I want to talk something about administration. In administration, there is a policy called, an important subject called change management. If you want to change something, you have to manage. It doesn't happen on its own. You have to convince that man totally, and especially a cultivator who is a traditionalist, purely sort of involved in his land. And unless you do this change management very delicately, it is impossible to do the change. He has to be convinced that I am not being taken for a ride. And there are risks, because he should know about the risks and all those things. And secondly, there is also another thing which everybody talks, job satisfaction and professional pride. Somebody who is in a profession, chartered accountant, lawyer, has a professional pride. What is the pride of a farmer? I mean, I don't think any farmer can get up and say, oh, I'm doing extremely well and all that. So that pride and then the job satisfaction is not there. Every type of calamity falls on the agricultural fellow. According to me, at the time of harvest, it is like a childbirth, every harvest is like a childbirth. Prasava Vedanal antaru chundalaga, he doesn't know whether the crop is coming or not coming. If it comes in a big way, what is going to happen? I am a great admirer of the Telangana government and its policies. I think it's one of the most progressive governments. But I would say something, sir, don't misunderstand me. There is a surplus production on this Esangi season. Surplus. But then till the other day, they did not know whether the government is going to buy it or not. And thank God the government have decided, but I am told they have decided only in the context, because of the context of COVID-19. COVID-19, bichara kaha jayenge, kya hoga, so we must do something. So they announced and then gone back to last year's picture of 6,000 or so, whatever purchase centers and all that. Imagine if the COVID had been slightly better, perhaps it wouldn't have happened. These fellows, they wouldn't know what to do with their crop and where to go. So, and next year again, you have given a caution saying that don't produce so much of rice in the this one regular Kharif season. We may not be able to buy because we would run into losses. Now the point is, two things I think are most essential for the farmer. One is the crop insurance. There is a government policy, I am aware of it. Incidentally, let me tell you, I made a deep study of agriculture. In the last 7 years or so of the BJP government, at least 14, 15 major policies, schemes have been brought into agriculture, including soil testing, including insurance, including neem-based coated urea, so many, and irrigation per drop, per crop, all those things, But why are they not making an impact? 2, 3 things are, one is most important is insurance. There are problems in the insurance, in crop cutting experiments, this, that, and all that. No one really knows what is happening. They don't get it. I think an effective and very result-oriented crop insurance is very, very important. And 2, disaster relief. And the third one is marketing arrangement. Now, marketing arrangement, I've been in the cooperative sector for quite some time in Maharashtra. My experience has been, I think, a well-run cooperative with the state support. State has to have partnership in that. With the state support, I think can do miracles in building. Sir, when you open the market and say that, contract farming, this, that, and all those things, what is the capacity of a poor farmer, one small farmer? You say farmers' organizations, 3 times we have tried. Some time ago, it was tried with NABARD. It was not successful. Again, a revised version of the farmers' produce organizations have been done. But we have successful examples. And most of the farmers' organizations, producers' organizations, are in a way taken over by the suppliers. The suppliers of credit, the suppliers of machinery, the suppliers of inputs, and all those things. And so, I think a good cooperative movement, some leadership has to come and cooperate. They have done miracles in Gujarat. For example, the cotton cooperatives in Gujarat, the sort of sugar cooperatives and the dairy cooperatives in Maharashtra. Later on, they suffered. That is a different thing because of politics. But I think that's one thing which needs to be explored, So 2, 3 other suggestions I just wanted to make. Sir, why this change management is necessary? Let me elaborate a little more. Because a farmer is a traditionalist. Most farmers are not educated. If somebody gets educated in the family, he moves out of the agriculture. He just does not, and he looks down upon the agriculture, In such a situation, now unless you some hand-holding is done, it doesn't happen, Sir, my suggestions are, most of the government schemes, they are there, as I told you, I have read, they don't reach the farmer. What happens is, an educated gentleman farmer exploits all the schemes. In Telangana, they have a scheme for mulberry growth, they have for greenhouses, for drip irrigation, for something else, for, usirkaya, for that. So many schemes, I tell you, for mushrooms and all that. I know of educated friends, doctors and others, who take every pie of benefit out of this. But a farmer does not get it. The reason is, either he has no access or nobody helps him. My suggestion, sir, is, there are about 420 agricultural colleges in this country. And there are about 70 agricultural universities. Now, the number of agricultural colleges is only slightly less than the medical colleges. Why not we put a condition to all these agricultural graduates? Sir, at one time in India, The engineers used to have what is called an apprenticeship. Unless you do 2 years of apprenticeship, you cannot practice as an engineer. Doctors cannot do even now. I mean, unless they do the house surgeon and all those things. Similarly, the agricultural graduates, for a period of 1 or 2 years, they must do voluntary service in the villages, and then they can be paid a stipend during that period, a small stipend to take care of them. But each one should be made responsible for about 50 farmers or 100 farmers, whatever it is that can be worked out. Hand-holding, giving all the inputs, seeing that the man works there and all that. The last one I wanted to mention is, sir, we are, advertising in all the papers, ease of doing business. Now, 40, 50, 60% of Indian population depends on agriculture. Why don't you have an index for ease of farming, ease of agriculture, ease of doing agriculture? Sir, getting a passbook is a problem in the villages. Getting entries in passbook is a problem. Now, in the computerization, so many mistakes are deliberate, some of them are deliberate, are made, and it takes hell of a lot of time to get those things done. Now, land, without land you can't do agriculture, but land management is also rapidly changing. Now we have some, this one in Telangana, we had something else, Mabhumi in Andhra Pradesh. But the land also, there is quite a bit of harassment to the farmer. I think an index called ease of doing agriculture should be introduced. And it should be. Last one, agriculture is not uniform in India. It depends on the agro regions, from state to state. Farmer in India, in Godavari district, sells 1 acre of land. Not now, 20 years ago. He would go to Sambalpur, and buy 5 acres, 10 acres. He goes to this one, Karnataka, Gadagar, Gulbarga or something, buys 5 acres. So the costs are different. You can't have one agricultural, prices commission for the whole of the country and one food corporation of India. I think Food Corporation of India also, some regionalization and more delegation should be done so that they do their work much better in response to the state governments. So I once again thank Mohan for calling me here, and to the Honorable Vice President for patiently listening to this one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for explaining the problems of farming from your own experience, probably. Now it's time to release the book from the hands of the Honorable Vice President. Now it's time to hear from our Chief Guest, Honorable Vice President, sir. We are looking forward to hear your message.
Sri Padmanabhi Garu, former Home Secretary, Sri Vinod Kumar, Vice Chairman, Telangana State Planning Board, Sri Devi Prasad Wadi, Director, Center for Good Governance, Sri Anil Shah, Director, BSP Books Private Limited, who has published this book, Dr. Mohan Kanda, the author of this book, and Professor Revati, Director of this institute, and friends, brothers and sisters. It's a great pleasure for me to release the book written by one of the most dynamic officers of the Indian administration, and also one of the officers whom I admire most. The problem with Mohan Kanda ji is he always looks young. And he comes out with ideas. These ideas should be translated, should be discussed thoroughly by one and all politicians, policy makers, Niti Ayog, different state planning boards, and also legislators. And they should be not only made into policy, but also they need to be implemented in a trend spirit. The Mohan Kanda garu told me about this book. I felt very happy because this is a subject which is very dear to my heart. I am basically a farmer's son because I am not practicing agriculture now. Agriculture is our basic culture. It should get a top priority, attention by the government at the center and states, because as it was rightly said, more than 50% of our population still depends and survive on agriculture in spite of the challenges. In that sector, people, they love agriculture, they live in agriculture, and some of them, they feel that there are no alternative also. So that being the case, any government for that matter has to give top priority to agriculture and then make it a profitable and make it a happy profession. It's not that much easy, as I also have been talking about agriculture, analyzing various recommendations, going to the performance of various state governments, and also the present government. We have come out with so many policies. The Prime Minister, he believes in reforms. He gave a 3-line mantra: reform, perform and transform. Transformation of the lives of the people. And the transformation of the lives of agriculture is more important because they produce the food for all of us. And it is our duty, bounden duty, to see that we give a helping hand to them and make this agriculture a really worthy profession, so that they can live happily and they can continue with the cultivation. But you are all seeing slowly people are leaving that profession because it's not becoming remunerative, because of vagaries of monsoon, because of market conditions, because of so many other reasons. The people are tending to leave agriculture and migrating to urban areas. Of course, life in urban areas is not that much happy. I have worked as Rural Development Minister. Sri Mohan ji was there, he worked with me. And I worked as Urban Development Minister. And I have been going around the country, studying public life, more particularly agriculture. So these challenges are many. The Prime Minister has given an ambitious call whatever may be the criticism, the call was worth because it started making people to think on those lines. And it started policymakers, including state governments also, to apply their mind and then work in the direction of achieving the target. So that way, the Prime Minister's call for making agriculture. And now he has drawn the attention of the people in various sectors. See, the agriculture in India, contemporary challenges in the context of doubling farmers' income. That is the heading given to this book. That means people are applying their mind. And people are trying to move in that direction. That's why I feel whatever critics may say, this is a call given with good intention, and the government started moving in that direction. I need not recall all the initiatives of the government of India, the present or the past. There are many new policies coming, but new challenges are also coming in the agriculture sector. That's a problem. This book has thrown light into various aspects of agriculture, various challenges, and various suggestions to achieve the target. The country as a whole has gone through the pandemic. But one thing that is very noticeable is, as I mentioned by the earlier speaker, in spite of setback to all sectors, almost all, the only sector that has survived in spite of this onslaught is agriculture. The agricultural production has increased 3.8 to 4.8%. Amazing. It speaks of the hard work by the agriculturists in spite of these challenges. That's why when people talk about the frontline warriors, I suggested the farmers also should be brought into that category of frontline warriors. ఎన్ని సవాళ్లు ఎదురైనప్పటికి కూడా, ఎన్ని కష్టాలు వచ్చినప్పటికి కూడా రైతులు మొక్కవోని దీక్షతో వ్యవసాయం పైన దృష్టి పెట్టి ఉత్పత్తిని పెంచి మనందరినీ ఆదుకున్నారు. దాంతోపాటు పద్మనాభయ్య గారు చెప్పినట్టుగా మన ఎకానమీ కొంతన్నా నిలబడగలిగిందంటే దానికి ఒక ప్రధాన కారణం వ్యవసాయం, వ్యవసాయదారులు. I have gone through the reports of various committees. They're all worth reading and also worth following, including MS Swaminathan Commission recommendation and also the recommendations given by various farmers organizations. We have food security, but we need to have sustained food security. Because a country of India's size, you cannot depend on imported food security. So you need to sustain agriculture. Second, you need to focus on protein food. Not only the normal food, but protein food. That is the need of the hour. People started realizing that aspect also. And then modernizing agriculture, sustaining agriculture, making the life of the rural people more comfortable. The governments have done so many things. Irrigation has been improved, electricity comparatively has been improved, even Patadar passbooks have been given mostly. Innovative initiatives like soil health card were also provided. Credit have vastly improved, but in spite of government making provision, still the farmers has to depend on the money lenders. And because timely, affordable timely, affordable credit is very much required. For that, long-term policy changes are the need of the hour. This book will help in that direction. I don't agree with these suggestions because political parties, even I was in a political party till the other day, they often demand for loan waiver, free power. Free power means first low power, then no power. No power is free power only. What the farmers need is, I'm an agriculturist. Even today I keep in touch with my villagers, understand their problems. I make inquiries regularly with them, what is happening. The calls I made to district collector, particularly my collector, is first thing is, are there rains? Second question is, are the tanks are filled? Tanks, water is very much required. And as a power supply is improving, these are the basic questions I ask to the collectors. Because power, farmers need assured power, quality power. If you give assured power, the farmers do not ask for waiver of power charges. And if you provide him the inputs on time, and if you provide him the credit on time, if you provide him proper marketing information and marketing arrangements, if you provide them rural godowns and link it with the credit, and if the farmers are able to get remunerative price, they will not ask you for loan waiver. Because of vagaries of monsoon, because of exploitation by the middlemen, the tomatoes are produced. Tomato at the producing center like Madarapalli and all, they are all sold at 1 rupee, 2 rupee kg. But in the market, consumers, they get tomato at 8 rupees, 10 rupees, and a place like Delhi, sometimes it goes up to 15 rupees. Same is the case with onion. Onion producers in Nasik and many places, they get very low prices, but onion prices, they go up, and we have been facing this problem time and all. And I have memory of one instance where one state government lost because of onion prices. Delhi state government, because the onion price have gone to 40 rupees a kilo. So, sustainable agriculture is the basic need. Providing them irrigation, providing them inputs, providing them affordable interest, providing them infrastructure, road, electricity, godown, marketing facilities, cold storage units, refrigerator vans. These are the basic requirements. And though the prices of agriculture producers are increasing undoubtedly, but the prices of input cost is increasing double. That's the problem. Input cost of pesticides, input cost of seeds, input cost of other things, they are increasing phenomenally. Adequately, the price of the produce is not matching with that. And another important aspect is that the food grain production this year has reached 296.65 million tons. And even horticulture crops also estimated a record of 320.48 million metric tons. This output is despite unfavorable conditions and all. But the basic fact remains, if you provide inputs timely, if you provide affordable interest rates and credit, rural credit, if you provide them power, assured power, if you provide them more and more irrigation facilities, if you provide them with market information, if you really always think in terms of aiding agriculture and come with policies, that is going to really help agriculture and make it sustainable. Friends, crop diversification is another important aspect. We must seriously think about paddy, growing paddy, and then growing wheat beyond our requirement. How long we can sustain this? I saw recently Telangana government also said of late, we will purchase all the crop. And political parties compel, the media also highlights, after purchasing the entire produce, what is the government going to do? Everybody thinks government means again people only, na? The government is not going to spend the money from their pockets. They can't. So they have to spend from the state exchequer. That means you have to put the burden on the people without proper requirement. If there is a requirement, I can understand. That's why I was suggesting, one, of course, crop insurance is very much required. Crops also, the people will come for insurance companies, provided if they are going to have really good market and then farmers are going to get good produce and then they are going to withstand the natural calamities, insurance companies will not come forward. So you have to make create more awareness about insurance, the need, and also reduce the premium. To some extent you can also subsidize. That's a positive subsidy that way, to encourage people to have crop insurance. What we had till the other day, of course, now things are moving in one direction. It was a loan insurance, not crop insurance. First, the banks will collect their loan and interest. So we need to think of crop diversion. We need to think of value addition. Tomato, I always tell this example, I really wonder. When I go to IITs, IIITs, number of research institutes, I tell them, tomato ketchup we are importing and tomatoes are not getting enough price. Is it a big research to develop ketchup in our country? And we also even today, I think it's shame, importing chips, potato chips. The chips normally our children eat are mostly imported. Can't we? We have surplus potato production. Can't we produce potato chips? We are ready to produce software chips, but not potato chips. It's an irony. And this aspect has to be borne in mind. And also food processing. Food processing, even the juices, we are importing some of the juices. The cool drinks also. So this is where the call of the Prime Minister for Atmanirbhar Bharat, you need to go for value addition. You need to go in a big way for food processing. You need to go for a big way improving the ENAM. What is the price in Madanapalli? What is the price in Hyderabad? What is the price in Karagata? The farmer must be able to know. Slowly we are moving in that direction, but all mandals, this ENAM facility has to be there, so that the exploitation of the farmers will get reduced. Compared to other countries, China, Brazil and the United States, our production levels are low. I've been to Vietnam some time back. India introduced coffee. India introduced paddy, or Swaminathan, but their paddy production per quintal, per acre, is more than ours. Such a small country. Why? We are lacking in that. So we need to really focus more research on this, and then that's where this lab to land is important. I do agree with Padmanabhai Garu, I've been saying this, all these agricultural colleges, these labs should be attached to particular number of villages. The students must go to those villages and lead the farmers as part of their degree. That is very much required. It's too late. Now, a lot of students are showing interest in agricultural courses also. That's a positive thing. For that, I feel that the modern technology should reach the farming community. For that, the research institutes, the agriculture colleges, and agriculture graduates, they need to work in the rural areas. Then only you will be able to understand the problems and challenges, and you will be able to provide some solutions to that. Some time back, I saw 2 cinemas during this COVID only. One is that Maharshi, another is the latest Srikaram. The engineering graduates, software engineers, they give up their profession and go back to their villages and join their parents. Parents were not happy because they want their children to be happy and they want their children to be more comfortable. That's why they have spent so much money and then educate them. So parents were unhappy that way. But still, of course, it is a cinema. Cinema is cinema, but both the cinemas were motivational. I rarely go to cinema. I rarely talk about cinema or tweet about cinema. I tweeted on my own about these 2 cinema movies because they're inspiring. Crop diversification, and then knowing the marketing conditions, making weather forecast available to the farmers, and guiding the farmers to come together, whether you call it as cooperative, farmers produce organization, or you call it as a group cultivation, you need to go back to that. There is no other way. With the land holdings below 1 hectare, how do you expect the farmer to sustain himself on his own? So you need to bring them together. As Padmanabhai was telling about cooperatives in Maharashtra, the Amul, even some of the experiments of our dairies, earlier including Sangam Dairy, and also the other good examples are there. Cooperative movement in Maharashtra has done wonders in the sugarcane initially. But now unfortunately politicians have entered these cooperatives, and now you know what is happening to the agriculture cooperative banks. We need to reform that, and we need to ensure from those challenges, and then encourage farmers to form cooperatives and seize the opportunities. I feel, as was rightly mentioned, Parliament, political leaders and parties, policy makers and press must proactively adopt a positive bias. I call it as bias. Our system till the other day was urban biased, organized biased. Organized people, they threaten to go on strike, and then immediately you attend their problem. And these people are not that much organized, so they don't get a priority. So you need to adopt a positive bias towards agriculture, and a radical shift in making agriculture profitable. That is the need of the hour. we must also ensure the growth, steady and also sustainable. The experts and scientists who are all focusing their attention on this, they should focus on this aspect, and private sector also need to be encouraged. I am not against private sector. Private sector, so that there is competition. The government alone cannot do everything. You know, government's duty is to provide infrastructure, road, irrigation, electricity, godowns, credit. This is the duty of the government. If the government start doing business, you know what will happen. I need not explain. From Air India to even to the FCI, the challenges FCI is facing nowadays. So in government and private sector, we are going through PPP model, we need to encourage them, but there has to be safeguards so that the private sector do not monopolize and then exploit the producers. And some of the suggestions in this book find resonance with the solutions that are necessary for achieving growth in the agriculture sector. And I feel that more and more books and more people showing interest in agriculture is very much required. And I personally feel that it's time that education is educate youngsters, go back to the village and take up agriculture, taking it as a passion. That's why I appreciate those two cinemas. That's the message from those cinemas. And I have seen the other day also, even in Telangana, Mallikarjun Reddy, he has given up his software career, Karimnagar, and doing good work. And then this organic, natural farming, there is a lot of fascination towards that also. They need to be encouraged. And agriculture do not mean you have a big area farming and all. You can have agriculture, even vegetables, growing vegetables in the backyard. And we are in the terrace. We are all seeing new experiments being done. And they need to be given importance by the media. Fortunately, some sections of the media are giving importance to. Recently, I had an occasion to meet 4 Telangana farmers, ideal farmers, who have got awards, to interact with them, know their experience. They are all feeling proud. But that lot of people are coming to their farms after seeing that they got award and also reading about what they are doing. And then they are also going for multi-crops, not focusing on one crop. And also inter-crop cultivation. Some time back, Manage, our institute, has conducted a study. One interesting aspect of that study is that was about farmer suicides. No farmer with a backyard poultry or a dairy has committed suicide. What does it mean? So you need to diversify, you need to go for poultry, you need to go for dairy, aquaculture, pisciculture, food processing. There are other various other allied activities. We need to encourage farmers to go through. Educated youth can guide the farmers. And moreover, what is it that educated youth, everybody is going to do? You are not going to get jobs. Everybody may say that they will provide jobs. It's impossible for any government, this government and that government, forget that politics. Though political parties, they try to score points with each other. Is it possible for all these graduates to get government jobs? Impossible. Even private sector, to what extent? Job is to work now. They must work now. Without work, providing a job, what will happen? Already in government sector, you have surplus people. surplus people, more. I have experience in government also for some time. I have seen also how many officers and how many staff we have. And then I have experience of working in the party with how many people I worked there. The amount of productive this thing. So these are all realities, though people may feel shy to talk about them, and then if you talk about downsizing government, then you will be downsized politically. That is the fear. But that's the reality. So we need to motivate younger generation towards agriculture. There are a lot of opportunities. We can supply food to the entire world community. And India has that talent. You have seen even right from PPP kits to masks to even latest vaccination. India is showing the way. And world is looking towards India. We need to focus in those allied agriculture activities, including diversification of crops, as I told you, and then make agriculture more profitable. So what I want to say is that increase productivity, production and reduce losses, increase market access of agriculture produce through marketing reforms, post-harvest manufacture. I saw a wonderful argument. They said, if you encourage private people and if these people do not come to mandis, what will happen to mandis? Mandis also must survive, na? They should also survive. They should compete with private people. Reduce input cost of farmers, optimization of resources used as inputs, undertake governance and structural reforms, as I said, expand risk mitigation measures, including insurance, and also increase investment in agriculture. The government need to invest in agriculture. Link developmental activities in sectors such as water resources, soil health, food processing, rural development, power, information technology, environment, fertilizers and other sectors to agriculture development, and diversify to organic farming. Health-wise, we have also realized that organic food, now people are moving towards organic food, it's become costly. If you more and more people join that sector, then it also becomes really viable. Otherwise, okay, only upper middle class and rich people are able to get organic food. Not everybody that way. And with COVID, one lesson we have to learn is that physical fitness, some exercise, yoga, or walking, or other things, physical fitness provides you mental alertness also. And eating proteinous food, proper food. We must educate our children to avoid junk food. These pistas and burgers, they may be suitable to those countries, not to us. Fortunately, our forefathers have given thousands of varieties. And there are natural medicines that are available in our food. Slowly people are thinking about it because this COVID has compelled everybody. And people are looking to any solution that is offered. And we are going back to that Kashai Bitkunam. So now, alone now, when you put these are all things that were there for thousands of years. నేను మాడుతుంటే అబ్బాయి చెప్పాడు సార్ బాగానే ఉంది మీరు చెప్పేది కానీ ఇప్పుడు ఫుడ్ అంతా ఇన్స్టెంట్ ఫుడ్ సార్ మరి బాబు చెప్పాను ఇన్స్టెంట్ ఫుడ్ అంటే కాన్స్టెంట్ డిసీజ్ నాయన అర్థం చేసుకోరు ఫుడ్ కెనాట్ బి ఇన్స్టెంట్ ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు బి ప్రాపర్లీ కుక్డ్ సో వీ నీడ్ టు ఎడ్యుకేట్ అండ్ ఆల్సో రీవిజిట్ అవర్ ఏన్షియంట్ ఫుడ్ సిస్టమ్ అండ్ ప్రాపగేట్ ద సేమ్ ప్రజలు స్లోగా అర్థం చేసుకుంటున్నారు మిగతా దేశాలు కూడా తెచ్చుకుంటున్నాయి అవన్నీ కూడా మన ఆహారపు అలవాటు వైపు చూస్తూ ఉన్నారు అందుకని మన అందరం కూడా తిరిగి ఈ యొక్క మన జీవన శైలి వైపు మన ఆహారపు అలవాట్ల వైపు జనాన్ని తిరిగి ఆలోచింపజేయాల్సిన అవసరంతో ఉంది ఈరోజు ఈ వ్యవసాయం ఒక ఎంటర్ప్రెనర్ యాక్టివిటీగా తయారు చేయాలంటే ముందు అది లాభసాటి కావాలి. దానికి కావాల్సిన ఒక ప్లాట్ఫామ్ని తయారు చేయడం గవర్నమెంట్ యొక్క డ్యూటీ కూడా. దాంతోపాటు మన ఆత్మనిర్భర భారత్ అంటే మనం అన్ని రంగాల్లో మనము సొంతంగా మన కాళ్ళపై మనం నిలబడే ప్రయత్నం చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఎంతో ఉంది. ఇందాక చెప్తూ నా కరీంనగర్ జిల్లా చొప్పదండి మండలం పెద్ద కుర్మాపల్లి ఆ గ్రామంలో లక్ష్మారెడ్డి కుమారుడు మల్లికార్జున రెడ్డి బీటెక్ చదివి సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఉద్యోగం చేసి ఊరికి వెళ్ళి ఆరోగ్యవంతమైన జీవనాన్ని ఎదుర్కొంటూ స్వగ్రామానికి మకం మార్చాడు. తన సమీకృత వ్యవసాయంపై దృష్టి సారించాడు. ఇంటికి అవసరమైన ఆహార పదార్థాలన్నీ రసాయనాలు లేకుండా పండించుకున్నాడు అనే ఉదాహరణ. ఇలాంటి ఉదాహరణ చాలా ఉన్నాయి అనుకునే తాజాగా వచ్చిన. అందుకని చదువుకున్న యువకులు గ్రామాల వైపు తల్లి వ్యవసాయంపై దృష్టి పెట్టి దాని అనుబంధ రంగాల్లో రైతులు మరింత ప్రోత్సాహపరిచి తమ విజ్ఞానాన్ని ఉపయోగించి వ్యవసాయ రంగంలో ప్రయోగాలు చేపట్టి నూతన పోకడలను అనుసరిస్తూ కొత్త ఆవిష్కరణల ద్వారా గ్రామస్తులకు మార్గదర్శనం చేయాలని చెప్పి నేను భావిస్తూ ఉన్నాను. కేవలం 1-2 పంటలకు పరిమితం కాకుండా మార్కెట్ డిమాండ్ని బట్టి వివిధ పంటలపై దృష్టి కేంద్రీకరించాలి. ఏ పంట మనకు లాభసాటి అవుతుంది అని చూడాలి. సో కల్టివేట్ డిఫరెంట్ క్రాప్స్ ఇన్ ట్యూన్ విత్ డిమాండ్. That should be thinking. Cultivation of this paddy and wheat is no good. We already have surplus production of these products. So some of these ideas I wanted to share with you on the occasion of this wonderful book release function. Sri Mohan has told me that this book is ready, sir. Because of COVID, can you release it? And he was insisting it should be released at the earliest. You can release it even virtual also. Virtual lo actual lo unnanta santosham santrupti ఉండదు. Though virtual has become factual in the recent days. Actual అంటే నేను చెప్పాను, మా సెక్రటరీ సుబ్బారావు గారు చెప్తున్నాడు, సార్ మోహన్ కన్నా ఫోన్ చేస్తాడు, వచ్చేవరైనా పర్వాలేదు తొందరగా చేసేయమంటున్నాడు అని. నేను చెప్పాను, నాకు ఆయన చూడాలని ఉందయా, వ్యక్తిగతంగా చూడాలని ఉంది. ఎందుకంటే ఒక చైతన్యవంతమైన అధికారి, చైతన్యవంతమైన ఆలోచనలు కలిగిన వాడు. దో ఈజ్ రిటైర్డ్, ఈజ్ నాట్ టైర్డ్, ఈజ్ టేకింగ్ అప్ పబ్లిక్ ఇష్యూస్ అండ్ హస్ బీన్ రైటింగ్ బుక్స్, రైటింగ్ ఆర్టికల్స్ ఆల్సో విచ్ ఆర్ వెరీ యూజ్ఫుల్. చదువుకున్న వాళ్ళు, అనుభవం ఉన్నవాళ్ళు తమ అనుభవాలను ఇతరులతో పంచుకోవాలి. అనుభవాలను పంచుకుంటే వాళ్ళు కూడా దాన్ని పెంచుకుంటారు. తద్వారా మన యొక్క పురోగతికి, మన యొక్క జీవనాన్ని మరింత సంతోషంగా గడపడానికి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. ఆ ప్రయత్నం చేస్తున్న శ్రీ మోహన్ కందా గారిని మనసారా అభినందిస్తూ మీ అందరికీ అభినందన తెలుపుతూ సెలవు తీసుకున్నాను. నమస్కారం.
Thank you, sir. As usual, your extempore message has been very motivating and inspirational. As the agriculture fraternity, the most important takeaway that for the first time you have said that frontline warriors, you have included the farmers. I'm sure from tomorrow onwards, the nation will recognize and many people start talking about this. So we'll be giving proper value to the farmers and their contribution during COVID times. Thank you, sir. May I request Anil Shah, Director, to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Venkaiah Naidu garu, respected and distinguished guest on the dais. From my most invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. BSP Books Private Limited. Words of thanks. Okay. Thank you. BSP Books and Center for Good Governance are grateful to you, to all, for making time for this book release despite your busy schedules and making the event interesting. We are humbled by the Honorable Vice President for sharing the perspectives as Chief Guest. Thank you so much for all the speakers for sharing their views. We would like to take this opportunity to record our heartfelt thanks for Dr. Revati, Director SES and her staff for the logistic support to conduct the event. We would like to thank Doordarshan media people for their support. Once again, we thank you all for being us this morning. It's a great pleasure. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
May I request everybody to stand up for the national anthem?